right, y'all. Welcome back and happy Tuesday. Today we're going to be breaking down Tennessee's defense versus Arkansas's offense. This matchup worries me for sure because Arkansas has a very good offense. Bobby P is an excellent offensive coordinator. I know that he's the interim head coach right now, and technically they have a different offensive coordinator, but that guy's just there babysitting while Bobby P's not with the players. I don't think that we'll see too many changes. Obviously, coming out of a bye, you could see some new wrinkles maybe added, but I mean, Bobby P's run this offensive system for a long time. He's not going to deviate from what he likes to do. We talked about the Syracuse passing game, how tough that would have been to stop, how tough it is to stop. I think that the Arkansas passing scheme is as good, if not better, than what Syracuse showed us. And then, like from a running scheme standpoint, man, Arkansas is way better than what Syracuse showed. And I mean, they're just more talented. Like I think at quarterback, running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, and the offensive line, it's all better than what Syracuse had. So it's going to be tough. Obviously, we saw what Syracuse was able to do to us in that first game. And you know, Notre Dame, they had some success. You know, they were able to hold Arkansas to 13 points down in Fayetteville. We'll talk about what their scheme was. Can Tennessee maybe replicate some of that? And also, there is this like big handful of people. It might not be that big, but there are some people that don't like Coach Tim Banks. They're going to nitpick at every negative thing that this defense does. I'm going to say for like the rest of us as fans, we need to have the proper expectations heading into this game. Just because like that one handful of people, doesn't matter what Coach Banks does, what the defense does, they're going to find something to be angry with. But this is a very good offense, and we're going to take a look at their stats versus every defense that they've faced so far this year. They've had success versus everybody. So we have to give something up. That's just how defense works. There's no like perfect call. I don't think that there's a defensive coordinator on the face of the planet that could stop this offense. Not with all the vets that they have, not with the way that they're operating. Guys who have been in the system for such a long time. Just have the proper expectations. Tennessee's going to give some stuff up. Like that's just going to happen. If we can limit those points, and I think that the overall game plan for offense, defense, special teams, keep the football out of Arkansas's offense's hand because it's almost impossible to stop what they do. We can only hope to limit it enough for us to ultimately have more points than they do at the end of the ball game. But with all that being said, y'all please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we're going to start off right here with the roster breakdown for Tennessee's defense versus Arkansas's offense. We pull this from 24/7 Sports. Tennessee has 27 blue chip caliber players on defense, and Arkansas has 12 on offense. I don't think that that's going to matter. There's a whole lot of vets. There's a lot of players that have been inside of the system for a long time. They all play hard. You know, they run good routes, so on and so forth. So I can break this thing down just a little bit more for y'all. Tennessee's defensive line had 16 blue chip caliber players to Arkansas's offensive line. They only have 4 there. Now, Sam Pittman, who's not the head coach right now, but he coached most of these guys for several years. So they're going to be, you know, they're going to play better than, you know, what they're rated at. But just because that's what he does. He's probably like the best offensive line coach in all of college football. So they're going to play very well. I've watched them play. They are really good. Now, looking at Tennessee's linebackers, just to, you know, keep with the front 7, we have 5 blue chip caliber players there. So with Arkansas's quarterbacks, they have 2 blue chips. With their running backs, they have 2 there. But, you know, and we'll take a look at their like 2 deep too. But they have guys at running back that are just as big, if not bigger than all of our linebackers, definitely bigger than our secondary. We haven't tackled the absolute best. This is a game that needs to get cleaned up in a major way because it's already hard enough to tackle people, you know, whenever you're bigger than them. But, you know, if they're bigger than you, makes it even more difficult. We're going to have to play out in space, all that type of stuff. Now, Tennessee secondary, we have 6 blue chip caliber players, and Arkansas has 1 at tight end, and then they have 3 at wide receiver. I don't think that any of that stuff matters. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to make sure that we broke it all down, but it's saying a whole lot of things just to say that really probably won't have too much of an impact on this game. Now, one of the things that I will point to, though, right? Tennessee's front 4 needs to have a huge game. We'll talk about that more as we like get deeper into this video, especially Tennessee's defensive ends. So with all that being said, these are the stats so far for Arkansas's offense. You can see their strength of schedule is at number 5 from ESPN versus Tennessee's defense. Our strength of schedule is currently at number 45, again, based off of ESPN. So this looks a lot like what we saw yesterday with Tennessee's offense versus Arkansas's defense, where, you know, they're winning in almost every single category, right? Like the offense is winning in almost every single category, even with the tougher strength of schedule. But there's a couple of differences. So Tennessee's defense doing a great job with our pass rush. We're tied in first place with sacks. We're tied with Oklahoma. So we have to keep on doing that. Like we got to get to the quarterback. We got to get him down. Tough to do it with a guy that's so mobile. You don't want to get out of your passing lanes. But I think that this is a game that you might want to just hit him, keep on hitting him, and make him start to look down. Because if he keeps his eyes down the field, people will be open at some point. That's how good their offensive system is. And also, they haven't given up too many sacks. They're averaging 1.2 per game, which is actually very good. So they're number 30 in the whole country out of 133 teams. Like I said, their offensive line is very, very good. All right, so with everything else, right? Actually, let's take a look at these turnovers. That's a place that I think Tennessee needs to, we've been doing a great job there. That's the only other category that we're actually winning in. But typically, with a good pass rush, especially whenever you're hitting the quarterback, you will force those turnovers. We have to keep on doing that. Turnovers is going to be critical in this game. We need to get the football out of their offense's hands as often as possible. All right. So with the rest of their offense, you can see that their total offense is top 10, right? Their scoring offense is top 25, passing top 20, and then their rushing is top 25. Now, I'm going to pause here because Tennessee's rush defense, it is not nearly as good as it was last season, okay? And Arkansas did a pretty good job of running the football on Tennessee's defense last year. It wasn't great, but they stuck to it. Like I said, Bobby P, if there's one thing that I could point to and say maybe it's like a flaw with him as an offensive coordinator is that he doesn't really stick to, or he hasn't previously stuck to the run as much as he probably should have and could have. But this year he's been very, very balanced. So that's a scary part of it, right? Like it's not a huge difference just with the rankings, but we have got to stop their running game. Like that's got to be first and foremost. Most of it's going to be coming from their quarterback. And then coming back up to the passing, Tennessee's super low in that category. Expect yards to be given up. Taylor Green had a great game passing versus Tennessee last year. I think he might have had over 300 yards. I'm not sure. But either way, he passed the football well. It's tough to stop it. So we'll see. Can we maybe have we tweaked some things with how we played them versus last season? I sure hope so because that might be necessary. Biggest thing though is just going to be, hey, keep him out of the freaking end zone. That's going to be one of the bigger things. Now, third downs, they're top 5. Red zone, they're at number 52. But because they have a quarterback that's mobile, but just because they have so many different wrinkles, so many different like moving pieces, pre-snap movement, misdirection stuff, they could be a problem inside of the red zone too. All right, so I wanted to get all that out and just, really go through the stats with this one because it is going to be, this is a tough matchup. If y'all haven't caught on to that vibe yet. All right, so this is their 2 deep on offense. I'm going to take myself out so that y'all can see what's in the top left. But everything that's in red is going to be their offensive line. The white's going to be their tight ends. And then everything that's in blue, that's going to be their skill players. So you can see their size, you can see their class. Veteran-led offense, you can see their PFF grades, which I don't really focus on, but some people like them, so that's going to be up there for you. And I think that their offensive line, good size. I mean, I would say that's kind of like NFL size, where they're not super big, super sloppy. That's probably going to be a big part of this game. But if you're looking at their running backs, okay, like we said, they're going to be bigger or, just as big, if not bigger than all of our linebackers, definitely bigger than all of our secondary players. They have one guy, number 4, who's 230. The other guy, number 0, he's 240. Okay, so they run hard. They can make you miss out in open space, all that type of stuff. There's certain times that they use different guys, right? And then, like, looking at their, other skilled players, pretty good size, not always prototype, but they all play hard. So understand all those things. Not going to be an easy game. Now, let's move on and let's talk about their key players on offense. So only 5 of them here. Definitely could have put a lot more, especially with this offense. They have 6 guys right now, y'all, currently that have over 100 yards receiving. And there's one guy here, number 4, that's right at 99 yards. So that would be their 7th guy. So they'll probably have 7 guys over 100 yards catching the football after this game. Hopefully not, but, it's very, very possible. So wanted to make sure that I did point that out. They all run excellent routes, just talking about their tight ends, even running backs and, wide receivers. And they're just very, very well coached. They execute this scheme very well for the most part. But we're going to be starting off with their quarterback. He's the one that makes everything go. Taylor Green, 6'6", 235, red shirt senior. And passing-wise, he's going 98 for 158, 62%, almost 1,400 yards passing, 12 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And also just like rushing-wise, he has 54 carries for 441 yards, 8.2 yards per carry, which is crazy. He's actually their leading rusher, and then he has 2 rushing touchdowns. So this is a true dual threat. Last year wasn't super great passing wise. He's definitely taking some steps forward there. And we were able to, we wanted to take away his legs, but he still passed the football well. I might have been off on the numbers. I said he was close to 300. It felt like he threw for 500 yards. Just, he finds people, all that type of stuff. He's a tall guy who can run. I mean, he is twitchy. He can be sudden. He can juke you out, make you miss. But it's more about him out in the open field. You don't want him to get that full head of steam because he takes those long strides. His top end speed is probably like way up there, close to like 23, maybe 24 miles per hour. So he's a major problem. Also has a very, very strong arm. So he's the one that makes everything go. Like their offense, They have almost every single play looks exactly like, hey, there could be a run that comes off of this or a pass that comes off of this. It could be like an RPO, but their option game is that's huge. Like we got to try to find a way to limit that. That's what they run the most, like just within their like running scheme. So you have a quarterback who can keep it and he can run. Then you've got two big running backs that they can get out in space. They, have good speed. They're going to run through tackles, so on and so forth. He can hand it off there, or he could look like he's about to run it, like look like he just kept it, but then pass it down the field to some wide receivers who can all go. All right, so understand, a lot of stress is going to be put on our defense. Next guy is going to be running back number 4, Mike Washington Jr., 6'2", 228. He's a senior on the year. Rushing wise, he has 61 carries, 393 yards, 6.4 yards per carry, which is excellent. 2 rushing touchdowns. Catching the football, he has 7 catches for 99 yards, 14.1 yards per catch with 1 receiving touchdown. So he's one of the guys that we're just talking about. He's a problem. He has really good size, and he runs hard. He has good speed. They're going to put him out in space and make our safeties have to tackle him, make our cornerbacks have to tackle him. The fundamentals need to be excellent. We need to have 3 or 4 people trying to make a tackle on every single play. If not, they're going to put up crazy numbers. All right, so next guy, okay, is going to be wide receiver, number 9, and his name is Omega Blake. Listed at 6'2", 187. He's a redshirt senior. To me, he looks like he might be 207. That might be a typo. He looks pretty thick. He's very, very muscular. He's like an outside wide receiver. He has 30 catches for almost 400 yards, 13.3 yards per catch with 3 catching touchdowns. Most of his like big catches come over the middle on digs, crossing patterns, so drags, deep crossers, things like that. He will make the tough catches. He runs very, very good routes. He has strong hands. Not much of a problem after the catch, but he's one that we have to watch out for sure. They like to get him isolated in like one-on-one coverage. So they might go trips to one side, have him on that other side and force us to, hey, do you want to go one-on-one here? Which I think that we could do. Or do you want to have some safety help? I don't think that he's one of those players that we necessarily need the safety help. But, I'm telling you, with this offensive scheme, they're going to come to the line of scrimmage, and whatever Tennessee shows them, they're going to have an answer to like whatever defense Tennessee is playing. So it's going to be critical that we, kind of like show them different things and what we're actually running and try to throw them off because they do some excellent, excellent things. Next player is going to be wide receiver number 6, Raylan Sharp, 5'9", 169, redshirt senior, 14 catches, 173 yards, 12.4 yards per catch, 2 catching touchdowns. He's going to be like one of their slot guys. Runs outstanding routes, very savvy, sits it down like he makes the openings and then sits it down in the openings on time, in rhythm for the quarterback, has good hands, is going to make those tough catches, excellent speed. They'll utilize them down the field. They'll utilize them on different screens, underneath routes, and they'll like run off the whole coverage on that side that he's running to, give him a whole lot of space to be able to operate. So yeah, dangerous. They have other guys too that can do very similar things to the 2 wide receivers that we just talked about. Last player that we'll touch on is going to be tight end number 88, and his name is Rohan Jones, 6'3", 242. He's a senior. He has 6 catches for 220 yards, 36.7 yards per catch with 2 receiving touchdowns. And I watched all 6 of those catches. 2 came versus Arkansas State. The other 4 came versus some better competition. But he runs excellent routes, okay? He's very savvy. He has good speed. It doesn't like he's a super burner. Like, I'd say that he's a guy that might not get drafted just because of his size. He doesn't hit on those, like, measurables. But if a team picks him up, he can play in the NFL for a long, long, long time just because he has a great skill set. But tracks the football well, makes the tough catches, yards after the catch, does a good job of running through people and setting himself up to get the yards after the catch, just like with his route. But yes, very, very talented team. All right, so I would like to move on to the next part of this and show you how their offense is fared versus some different defenses, because we told y'all that we would get into this. And then we'll also take a look at what Notre Dame did. So Arkansas State and Alabama A&M, y'all can see the numbers. We don't really have to focus on that. But this is where the passing columns are, all right? And then these are the rushing columns, and then this is going to be the total offense columns. So let's start off with Ole Miss. This is a game that Arkansas lost on the road, 41-35. Passing-wise, they went 22 of 35, about 63%, 305 yards passing, 1 passing touchdown. I don't know if that's 8.7 yards per attempt or exactly what those numbers mean there, but rushing-wise, 37 carries, 221 yards, 6 yards per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns. That goes back to my point that they've been a lot more balanced. Their running offense is a problem, but obviously they can throw it all over the freaking field. The teams that beat them, kept them out of the end zone, as much as they could passing wise. That's what I think the game plan has to be. So next game is going to be the one versus Memphis. That was at Memphis, and this is one that Arkansas lost 32-31. Passing wise, they went 18 of 34. That's about 53%, which is horrible, but 325 yards with one passing touchdown. So they put up big yards on big plays. You got to limit those big plays. That's going to be huge. I think that our secondary is going to be up to that task. So as far as rushing, they ran it 32 times, 175 yards, 5.5 yards per carry with 3 rushing touchdowns. Now, let's start off on, or let's start to talk about what Notre Dame did to be able to limit Arkansas's offense so much. Number one, Notre Dame won this game 56-13. That was down in Fayetteville. And passing-wise, Arkansas went 17 of 32, which is about 53%. So on these, last 2 games, they're right around 53%, which is not very good. 270 yards passing. So they're still finding success down the field. But what Notre Dame did is they kept them out of the freaking end zone. That's a lot easier said than done. Okay, I can promise you, a lot easier said than done. Now, rushing-wise, okay, Arkansas ran the football 30 times for 158 yards, 5.3 yards per carry with 1 rushing touchdown. The yards per carry average is exactly what Notre Dame had. So understand that, man. They're running the football at a really, really high clip. And I want to move on and show you what the coverage looked like for Notre Dame versus Arkansas in that game. Okay, so this is coming from Pro Football Focus, and you can see over here all of the different coverage schemes. This is not just with passing plays, it's with every play. Okay, so running plays too, right? So you can see here cover 1, cover 3, cover 2, so on and so forth. It is organized right here based off of how often Notre Dame ran these coverages versus Arkansas. So you can see obviously the grades and stuff. Take that with a grain of salt. That's the total defense grade. That's the coverage grade. And so this is the this column here. That's going to show you how many times was Notre Dame actually in pass coverage. So how many passing plays were there? And then here you can see how many actual passes, right? So 17, and then how many times the football was actually caught. So in cover 1, which is what Notre Dame ran the most at 47%, Arkansas threw the football 17 times, but they only hit on 7 of those passes. That's huge. You can see the passing yards given up, so only 59. The yards per catch, the touchdowns in this column, the first downs in this column, interceptions here, pass breakups there, quarterback rating right here, the pressure grades right there, and then you can also see the pressure rate is going to be inside of that column. So let's come on back, right? Cover 1, what that means, that is a man coverage. So with Notre Dame, it's not always just a true man-to-man coverage. Sometimes the linebackers might be in some sort of a zone where maybe they're spying or maybe they're playing like a middle zone. Safeties could be doing that same thing. Cornerbacks could be doing that same thing. But that's typically how they like to run their man-to-man coverage. Is it something that Tennessee can do? I think so. I think that we match up pretty well versus their, wideouts and their tight ends and things like that with our secondary players. Now, with our linebackers, we might have some problems because they'll get slot wide receiver isolated in coverage versus linebacker, unless we have the linebacker playing in like a middle zone, which is what I would do. Just like let the secondary players do secondary stuff. Let the linebackers do linebacker stuff. That's the way that I would try to play it. But also versus the run. In cover 1 means that you have one safety playing high. So typically you can have more people dedicated to the box to slow down that running game. Same thing with cover 3. Obviously cover 3 is a zone. You have 3 players playing deep, but it's a one high look pre-snap. So you have one safety that's playing down in the box and they can help out with that run. So this is what Notre Dame did basically, right? Obviously, they ran some different coverages here. You can see that they ran a lot of cover 2. Wouldn't recommend it, okay? Like some of the big plays that they gave up was in cover 2. You can also just like take a look. Like how many yards and stuff, how many passes was actually thrown, how many did they hit on? Looks a lot different outside of cover 1. It doesn't mean that Tennessee can definitely run the exact same coverage and find, and be just as good as Notre Dame was, but that is an option. Okay, so that's how Notre Dame did it. Now, just as far as the pass blitzing tendencies for Notre Dame versus Arkansas, right? So on 40 pass plays, they only sent a blitz 9 times, which is 22.5%. That's a lot lower than their typical average. They're typically like over 40%. So this is probably not a team that you want to try to blitz too much. Maybe we do. Okay, I don't know. I mean, maybe that'll work better for us. But Notre Dame didn't do that, so they didn't blitz very much. And then they brought about 25% of their blitzes from the box. So that would be more like linebackers, maybe a safety that's, coming from the box. Didn't bring any like slot cornerback blitzes. They brought several, or, they at least brought some cornerback blitzes. I've talked a lot about that. We need to start doing more of it, especially versus these mobile quarterbacks, but we'll keep on going, right? So 5-man pressure is about 78% of the time, and then 6-man pressure is only at 22% of the time. there were no 7-man pressures. Typically, Notre Dame will bring some 7-man pressures. That's just how they like to rock. So with all those things being said, can we replicate some of this stuff? I would say that it's definitely possible. Tennessee, we do have players who can play in man. I think we have some good blitzing linebackers and things like that. But I don't know how well it would, ultimately fit our scheme, honestly speaking. But I think that we have to find a way to, number one, limit what Arkansas does in their option game. I have not seen a defensive end make a play on that option where, hey, quarterback can keep it or we're handing off to the running back. So they're able to neutralize the defensive end from that standpoint where nobody has to block them. They're just kind of playing out in space and they can't do much of anything. Our defensive ends need to have an impact. We have to tackle. I know I keep on saying it, but that's huge. We have got to tackle well. They're going to have playmakers out in space. They're going to be able to get the football to them. And we have to just be a lot more disciplined. One of the things that I noticed in the first downs that Arkansas generated on Tennessee last season is our linebackers for, most of those plays. It was 23 that we gave up. But on most of those plays, it was on our linebackers being totally lost, whether it's a run play, pass play, didn't matter. They were way just everywhere. I have no idea why, but we got to get that fixed. And then after that, it was on Tennessee safeties. There were some other, some things with the star players or maybe with the corners every now and then. But that was just, hey, man, it was coverage and we got beat. That's going to happen sometimes. But we just need, for our box players, whoever's playing inside of the box, they need to be real dudes, okay? And then on the outside, we just have to come up and tackle. The entire team needs to be doing that. But those are just kind of my opening thoughts, basically, with their offense. We'll touch on things more as we get deeper into the week. But y'all, please share your thoughts down in that comment section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll be talking to y'all tomorrow. Thanks, peace. Thanks for watching. And please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.